Power Detonate has always been Cybran's most defining ability. It is also the first step towards becoming a strong Cybran player in both 1v1s and team games. This video will show every important interaction that you will have to learn if you want to master this ability. Let's start with the basics. When you suicide a building with the Control K shortcut, you deal no damage to enemy troops unless you suicide a generator. But the Power Detonate ability gives Cybran the option to suicide almost any buildings they choose and deal enough damage to instantly kill every small land unit nearby. You can find the Power Detonate button right here, but what you should actually use is the Alt-D hotkey. Depending on who you ask, you'll get all kinds of descriptions ranging from totally overpowered to completely useless. I will show you that it's neither of the extremes. Truth is that as long as you keep your distance, your units are safe. It's a weapon you rarely use, a deterrent similar to atomic bombs in real life. You have to find ways of taking advantage of this distance enemy troops need to maintain instead of assuming the enemy will blindly walk right into the explosion radius. What you just saw was a simple right click on the buildings, but if you maintain a distance and only approach each Cybran building with a few units, Power Detonate alone is absolutely harmless. Even if the detonated building kills some of your units, you're still destroying enemy units in the process. The explosion radius is around the same size as the range of assault bots without any upgrades. Those include Titans, Loyalists and Harvogs. Even basic tanks without range upgrades can outrange Power Detonate. In a real match, you probably won't be forced to get this close, as you can just build a couple mobile missile launchers that are designed to destroy enemy buildings from afar. But let's not forget, the scenarios you just saw had no enemy land troops. The trick with Power Detonate is to create a distance between you and the enemy, as I previously mentioned. This can be best exploited by mobile artillery, turrets, nanogun, or land experimentals. That is why the opinions can be so divided. A bad Cybran player will rely 100% on Power Detonate without using anything else and be surprised when a good player never comes close to the explosion radius. But if you're Cybran playing against noobs, you basically have a trick that makes you completely immune to any small land they throw at you. Now let's have a look at the more interesting stuff. Did you know that Power Detonate makes a spherical explosion? Detonating buildings can easily insta-kill small gunships or damage their experimentals. Anything that flies low enough, like transports or jump-jetting ACUs, can't be hit. Notice how the fighters are flying too high to be affected, and I am about to tell you a secret that I was the first to discover only around a year ago, after Unknown Desire 7 has shown me that on some maps, fighters moving from the low ground to the high ground can be damaged by buildings on the high ground. You can actually trigger this effect on a flat area by using any of your low-flying air units as bait, causing the fighters to fly low enough to be damaged by Power Detonate. Most of the pros still don't know about this because this is the first time anyone is making a video about it. It's quite niche and rarely useful, more like a fun magic trick. On screen you can see a few Cybran gunships pulling UEF fighters low enough to be insta-killed by Power Detonate on structures. Theoretically it is possible to do the same with Land Detonate, but it's completely luck-based and doesn't work on a flat surface. What you just saw was 90 UEF fighters dying to a couple Cybran buildings. There is no limit to how many things you can kill with a single detonation, as it will damage anything in range. In a perfect setting, you could probably kill hundreds of units with a single building. Let's also have a quick look at Power Detonate on land units. Just like exploding buildings, you can sacrifice some of your Cybran land units to deal a lot of area damage. A single exploding Loyalist will deal a flat 300 damage to any enemy units nearby. This does not change with any upgrades like land training or even veterancy. There is no friendly fire just like structured detonations. Since most land units are going to have roughly 1500 health, you only need to sacrifice around 6 or 7 bots. I recommend preparing a control group by pressing Ctrl and any number on your keyboard to select the group later by pressing that number again followed by Alt-D to detonate. And now let's take a small break to focus on the micro. Once you do it a few times, all the hotkeys become second nature. The Land Detonate ability looked really strong there, maybe even more powerful than Structure Detonate, but there's a saying that Power Detonation doesn't work against good players. The reason Land Detonate looked so powerful is because the enemy was not moving their tanks at all. Let's see what the situation looks like when there's some mobile artillery in the mix and the enemy is microing their units by keeping distance. As you can see, just like Structure Detonate, Land Detonate is an ability that doesn't work alone. You can use it defensively against teleporting Aeon units to defend your land experimentals, or you could combine it with jump jets, but that's a bit more complicated and a topic for another video. The most important lesson from this video is how to use Power Detonate to protect an ACU against snipes. Since Structure Detonate can easily delete any small land or any gunships, your commander is effectively immune to most methods of sniping. If you're playing a team game and you're beyond the 15-minute mark, I recommend walking your ACU inside your friendly neighborhood Cybran's base. The last thing I want to cover is Fields of Isis. Starting heavy on research stations has always been the meta for land players on this map. A very useful tip for Cybran is using a wall of whatever buildings you can get your hands on to protect the back of your base from those annoying teleporting Aeon units. But if you've been paying any attention, you will know that Power Detonate alone will only slow down the enemy units. If you really want to protect the back of your base, you will need to also use some turrets or land experimentals. And if you can afford it, Don't forget to cover your teammate's base too. Your air player's base should actually be prioritized for the Great Wall of Power Detonate because he can't defend himself. I would like to thank Skeptical Skeleton for helping me film all of the footage used in this video. If you prefer this quick 5-minute format over my usual 2-hour-long deep analysis videos, please let me know in the comments and I will make more of these videos. Have a nice day and Happy New Year. Are you seriously playing Subcom by yourself? Come join the biggest Supreme Commander 2 Discord in the world with over 1,000 active members. Server's over 5 years old and we're still hosting games daily. I'm telling you all these epic facts, but you still like you. Oh yeah, and the invite is like the first link in the description, you'll find it.